Hello, church. Uh, it's Wednesday again, and contemplating what to say. Uh, Obviously, during December, you go to Christmas songs for inspiration and insight, and so we're there again. We're looking at a song and reading about it. Fascinating song. It's not one that we sing a lot. It's one that does get played. We don't ignore it. But there's so much depth to it that depth in that it shows the good and bad of humankind. So many of our Christmas carols just look at the bright side of Jesus coming as a baby, and the angels and the shepherds and the three kings and all those good things. But this song in particular was written during a time that probably would remind us of what we're going through now. Though maybe a little bit past what we're going through now. It was written during a time when our country was pretty much divided up 50-50. And not able to come to a point of agreement and to see eye to eye. And I would say that was a good thing. The end result was good anyway, because it brought about freedom for the slaves. But it was a dark time for our country, because in order to come to an agreement, blood had to be shed. And this song was written in the midst of that by a man that suffered a lot of pain and agony. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, one of our most famous poets, one of our most prolific poets. He wrote Hiawatha. He wrote about the ride of Paul Revere. He was also smart. He translated a number of ancient Greek transcripts and other Latin transcripts. Just a smart man, left and right, but a man filled with tragedy, and while he wrote, not always in pain, when he was in pain and when he was feeling the weight of the world, he turned to poetry to compensate, his safe spot, his go-to. And most all of us have something that we do when life just seems to throw us a curveball, that we go there. And for Longfellow, that was poetry. And heading into December of 1863, he lost his first wife while he was overseas. She died, and so he wasn't there. His second wife, after a long courtship and engagement, he married her, and she and him had 5 children together. But in 1861, he lost his second wife up close and personal. She was actually melting wax to seal some letters that she had wrote. We've never experienced that. We just lick the envelope. Sometimes we just pull the piece of paper off and stick it together. But in order to keep people out of your personal letters, you sealed it with wax. And if the wax was broken, and then the receiver knew somebody had been nosy. But she was sealing her letters shut, and her clothing caught on fire from the flame. And before Henry could get to her side and stop, drop, and roll, or whatever they did back then, the fire had done too much damage, and she died. Left him with a 5-year-old was his youngest. His oldest would have been about 17. And then war came. Soon after that, that was 1861. In 1863, his oldest had gone into battle. He had missed the Battle of Gettysburg. He had fought at Chancellorsville. And then he was wounded in November of 1863. And his dad got a note saying that his son had been wounded. He did survive. He was sent home to heal, in fact. But here was a widower of 2 years, 6 kids, one off to war, the rest in need of him to provide meals and safety and everything else. And then Christmas coming. And he wrote these words that we know well. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And thought how as the day had come, the belfries of all Christendom had rolled along the unbroken song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then from each black accursed mouth the cannon thundered in the south, and with the sound the carols drowned of peace on earth, goodwill to men. It was as if an earthquake rent the hearthstones of a continent, and made forlorn the households born of peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep, God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. Till ringing, singing on its way, the world revolved from night to day. A voice, a chime, a chant sublime of peace on earth, goodwill to men. You know, this world has over and over again been ripped apart by war, by politics. Jesus told his disciples, I've come that they might have peace. But that peace isn't necessarily a world without war. It's a world in which we are no longer at war against God, our Creator and our Savior. He has brought us from death unto life. One of my favorite Christmas verses is actually from Isaiah. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end, on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and righteousness from this time forth and forevermore. The Christ child that was born came to die. That death made it possible for us to have the peace of God, peace with God. But the story doesn't end with our redemption. There is coming a day when there will be peace. For 1,000 years he'll reign with a rod of iron, we're told. And they will experience government as it was meant to be. And yet, even after that, Satan is loosed and leads mankind in rebellion against their perfect king. And then God, once and for all, wipes out those that would stand against the God of the universe, the God, their creator, their savior, that did everything he could for them. And yet they then again raised up in rebellion. That doesn't say a whole lot about us as humankind, does it? Even with perfection, we mess it up. Just like Adam did in the Garden of Eden. He only had one thing that he wasn't allowed to do. We have big long lists of what sins are now. But Adam and Eve only had one thing that they weren't allowed to do. And they turned around and did it. We live in a dark world. There is no real peace on earth. But I have peace in my heart. I hope you have peace in your heart. Because I have come to a saving knowledge of the grace that God has given to me through his shed blood, that bought this body, this mind, this spirit, this soul back into his kingdom, restored the relationship I was meant to have. All mankind was meant to have since the Garden of Eden. The wrong shall fail. The right will prevail. And there will one day be peace on earth, goodwill to men. Don't wait till that day that he establishes his kingdom. Beloved, now is the day of salvation. Now is the day that you can have peace with God. And when you have peace with God, you can look around the world and say, man, this place is falling apart. And then realize God's not dead. God's not sleeping. He's still on his throne. And he's still giving me peace that is beyond understanding, because he's my Lord and my Savior. Go be the church, church. show Jesus to a world that desperately needs to know him and see him in our lives and in our actions and in the world. Go be the light. God bless. Love you. Bye.